Ethan Carter adjusted his bow tie nervously as he watched his best friend Noah beam at his new bride across the crowded reception hall. The wedding had been perfect, from the tearful vows to the elegant venue, decorated with twinkling lights and white roses. As best man, Ethan had performed all his duties flawlessly, from keeping the ring safe to delivering a heartfelt speech that had everyone alternating between laughter and tears. Now, with the formal dinner finished and the dance floor filling up, Ethan finally allowed himself to relax. He grabbed a glass of champagne from a passing server and found a quiet spot near the edge of the room. From here, he could observe the celebration without being pulled into another conversation about when it would be his turn to tie the knot. "Enjoying the view from the sidelines?" a familiar voice asked. Ethan turned to find Olivia, Noah's younger sister, standing beside him. She looked stunning in her bridesmaid dress, a flowing sage green gown that complemented her auburn hair, which fell in loose waves around her shoulders. Just taking a breather, Ethan replied, smiling. "Your brother seems happy." "He is," Olivia said, her eyes lingering on her brother as he twirled his new wife on the dance floor. "They both are." Something in her tone made Ethan look at her more closely. He had known Olivia for most of his life. Growing up next door to the Bennett family and spending countless hours at their house with Noah, Olivia had always been there initially as the annoying little sister who wanted to join their games later as the quiet teenager with her nose in a book, and now as the confident, intelligent woman who had built her own life separate from her brother's shadow. "Everything okay?" Ethan asked. Olivia bit her lip, a gesture he recognized from when she was nervous. "Can we talk somewhere private?" Curious and slightly concerned, Ethan nodded. "Lead the way." Olivia glanced around before taking his hand and guiding him through the crowd. Her touch sent an unexpected warmth up his arm. They slipped through a side door into a quiet hallway lined with framed photographs of the venue's history. When they were alone, Olivia turned to face him. The dim lighting cast soft shadows across her face, highlighting the determination in her eyes. "I need you tonight," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan nearly choked on his champagne.
"What?" "Not like that," Olivia said quickly, though a blush spread across her cheeks. "Or maybe exactly like that. I honestly don't know anymore." She took a deep breath. "Ethan, I've had feelings for you for years."
Watching Noah start this new chapter of his life today made me realize I can't keep pretending anymore. Ethan stood frozen, his mind racing to process her words. Olivia had feelings for him. How had he never noticed? Or had he deliberately avoided seeing it because she was Noah's sister? "Say something," Olivia pleaded. "I don't know what to say," Ethan admitted. "You're Noah's sister. Is that all I am to you?" Her eyes searched his face. The truth hit Ethan like a physical force. No, she had never been just Noah's sister. She was Olivia. Brilliant, kind, beautiful Olivia, who made him laugh, who challenged his thinking, who had starred in dreams he'd never allowed himself to acknowledge while awake. Before he could respond, the door to the hallway opened. Noah's father poked his head through. "There you are, Ethan. They're about to cut the cake. Noah wants his best man there." "We'll be right there," Ethan called. "Day." His eyes still locked with Olivia's. As Mr. Bennett disappeared back into the reception, Olivia stepped closer to Ethan. "Meet me by your car after the cake," she whispered. Then she was gone, slipping back into the celebration, leaving Ethan standing alone in the hallway with his heart pounding and his world completely upended. As Ethan watched the newlyweds cut their cake, his mind drifted back through the years, replaying moments with Olivia that suddenly held new meaning. He remembered the summer when he was 16 and Olivia was 14. Noah had broken his leg skateboarding, leaving Ethan to hang around the Bennett house without his best friend to play video games. Olivia had shyly invited him to watch her paint in the backyard. He had been mesmerized by how her small hands created such beautiful landscapes. That was the first time he noticed she was more than just Noah's annoying little sister. Then there was the night of Olivia's senior prom. Her date had abandoned her to hang out with his friends, and Ethan had found her sitting alone on the Bennett's front porch when he came to return Noah's car. Without thinking, he had extended his hand and asked her to dance right there under the porch light. Her smile that night had stayed with him for weeks. The memory that haunted him most happened during Noah's college graduation party. Ethan had found Olivia hiding in the kitchen, overwhelmed by the crowd. They had talked for hours after everyone else had passed out or gone home. Something had shifted between them that night as dawn broke through the kitchen window. They had leaned toward each other, a kiss seemingly inevitable, when Noah had stumbled in looking for water. The moment shattered, never to be mentioned again. Earth to Ethan, Noah's voice broke through his thoughts. "Where are you, man? You look a million miles away." Ethan blinked, forcing a smile. "Just thinking about how far we've come since we were kids stealing cookies from your mom's kitchen." Noah laughed and clapped him on the shoulder. "Those were the days. Speaking of which, have you seen Olivia? Mom wants a family photo. I think she went to fix her makeup." Ethan lied, his stomach twisting with guilt. As Noah walked away, Ethan caught sight of Olivia across the room. She was smiling at something her cousin was saying, but her eyes found his over the crowd. The connection between them felt almost physical, like a string pulling them together. Ethan thought about his string of failed relationships. There was Megan, who had ended things after 6 months because she felt he was emotionally unavailable. Then came Rebecca, who had directly asked if he had feelings for someone else. He had denied it, but she saw through him. His longest relationship with Amber had ended when she told him, "You're in love with a ghost, Ethan. I can't compete with someone who isn't even here." Had they all sensed what he had buried so deeply, that no one measured up to the connection he felt with Olivia? The reception began winding down around midnight. Ethan said his goodbyes, hugging Noah tightly and promising to help clean up the next day. His heart raced as he walked to his car in the venue's parking lot. Would Olivia really be waiting? Part of him hoped she wouldn't be, that they could go back to the safety of their unspoken agreement to never cross this line. But there she was, leaning against his car. Her bridesmaid dress exchanged for jeans and a soft sweater, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked younger this way, more like the girl he had watched grow up, yet undeniably the woman who had been haunting his thoughts all evening. "You came," she said simply. "I did," Ethan replied, his mouth dry. "Where do we go from here?" Olivia smiled, a mix of nervousness and determination in her eyes. "Remember the overlook, where we used to watch meteor showers with Noah? Take me there. I think we have a lot to talk about." The drive to the overlook was quiet, filled with unspoken words and nervous glances. Ethan's hands gripped the steering wheel tightly as he navigated the winding road up the hillside. Beside him, Olivia gazed out the window, the moonlight casting soft shadows across her face. The overlook hadn't changed much since their teenage years. It was a simple clearing with a wooden guardrail, offering a spectacular view of the city lights below. During high school, the three of them, Noah, Ethan, and Olivia, would come here to watch meteor showers or just escape their parents for a few hours. Ethan parked the car, and they both stepped out into the cool night air. The sounds of crickets and distant traffic filled the silence between them. "I used to count the minutes until Noah would invite you over," Olivia said suddenly, walking toward the guardrail. "I would plan what to wear, what to say, how to act around you." It was exhausting. Ethan joined her at the rail, keeping a careful distance. "I had no idea." "That was the point," she replied with a small smile. "Noah would have teased me endlessly if he knew I had a crush on his best friend. And now?" Ethan asked, his voice barely audible over the gentle breeze. Olivia turned to face him fully. "Now I'm taking a job in Seattle. I'll leave in 2 weeks." The news hit Ethan like a physical blow. Seattle, that's across the country. "It's a great opportunity. A gallery wants to feature my work, and they offered me a position teaching art classes." She paused, looking down at her hands. "I almost didn't tell you about my feelings. What would be the point, right? But then I realized I couldn't leave without knowing." "Knowing what?" Ethan asked, though he already understood. "If what I felt was real? If you ever felt it too?" Her voice trembled slightly. "I needed to know if I'd been holding on to a fantasy all these years, or if there was something real between us that we were both too afraid to acknowledge." Ethan took a step closer to her. "And if it is real, you're still leaving?" "Yes," she admitted. "But I'd be leaving knowing the truth, not wondering for the rest of my life." The city lights twinkled below them, mirroring the stars above. In this moment, suspended between earth and sky, the rules that had governed their relationship for years seemed distant and unimportant. "I've compared every woman I've ever dated to you," Ethan confessed. "None of them ever measured up to the connection I feel when I'm with you. I told myself it was wrong because you're Noah's sister, because it might ruin my friendship with him. Because you deserved better than someone who couldn't even admit how he felt. Olivia's eyes glistened with unshed tears. We've wasted so much time. Maybe, Ethan said, reaching out to brush a strand of hair from her face. Or maybe we needed that time to become the people we are now. The touch of his fingers against her cheek broke the last barrier between them. Olivia stepped forward, eliminating the space that separated them, and Ethan did what he had wanted to do for years, kissed her. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative and questioning, but quickly deepened with the weight of years of unspoken longing. Her hands found their way to his chest, while his cradled her face. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathless. "Stay with me tonight," Olivia whispered against his lips. "We might only have these 2 weeks, but I want to know what it feels like to not hold back anymore." Ethan nodded, knowing that whatever came next, whether joy or heartbreak, he was done pretending he didn't love Olivia Bennett. "No more wasted time," he promised, taking her hand in his as they walked back to the car. Morning sunlight streamed through unfamiliar curtains as Ethan slowly opened his eyes. For a moment he was disoriented, then the events of the previous night came rushing back. Olivia lay beside him, her auburn hair spread across the pillow, her breathing deep and even. He watched her sleep, still unable to believe that after all these years of silent longing, they had finally crossed the line they had drawn between them. The peaceful moment was shattered by the buzzing of his phone. Ethan carefully reached for it, trying not to wake Olivia. Noah's name flashed on the screen. Guilt twisted in his stomach as he answered. "Amen," Ethan said, keeping his voice low as he slipped out of bed and into the adjoining bathroom. "Morning. Zoe and I are heading to the airport in a few hours, but we wanted to see you before we leave for our honeymoon. Can you come by the house around 11? Ethan glanced at the time. It was just past 9. "Sure, I'll be there." When he returned to the bedroom, Olivia was sitting up, the sheet pulled around her. Her expression told him she had heard enough to know who had called. "Noah wants to see me before they leave for their honeymoon," Ethan explained, sitting on the edge of the bed. "What are we going to do?" Olivia asked, the reality of their situation settling over them like a heavy blanket. Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "I don't know. I feel like I've betrayed him." "We both have," Olivia said softly. "But I'm not sorry." She reached for his hand. "Ethan, I'm leaving for Seattle in 2 weeks. I can't go without telling Noah the truth. I won't start this new chapter of my life with a lie hanging over us." "He's going to hate me," Ethan said, the thought of losing his best friend making his chest tight. "Maybe at first," Olivia admitted, "but Noah loves us both. He'll come around." 2 hours later, they stood on the doorstep of Noah and Zoe's house. Ethan's heart pounded so hard he was sure Olivia could hear it. She squeezed his hand reassuringly before dropping it as the door opened. "There's my best man," Noah exclaimed, pulling Ethan into a hug. His smile faltered slightly when he noticed his sister. "Liv, didn't expect to see you here? We need to talk to you," Olivia said, her voice steadier than Ethan expected. Noah's expression shifted from confusion to concern as he led them into the living room where Zoe was, organizing travel documents. She looked up with a smile that quickly turned questioning when she sensed the tension. "What's going on?" Noah asked, sitting beside his new wife. Ethan and Olivia exchanged a glance, and Ethan felt a surge of courage. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. "Noah, I need to tell you something that might upset you," Ethan began. "Last night, after the reception, Olivia and I spent the night together," Olivia finished, when Ethan faltered. Noah's face went blank with shock. "You what?" "It's not just about last night," Olivia continued. "We've had feelings for each other for years, but we never acted on them out of respect for you." Noah stood up abruptly, pacing the room. "Out of respect for me? How is sleeping together the night of my wedding respectful?" "It wasn't planned," Ethan said, "but I can't apologize for how I feel about Olivia. I've tried to ignore it for too long." Noah turned to his sister. "And you're okay with him potentially ruining our friendship? 3 of us have been inseparable since we were kids. That's why we're here," Olivia said. "Guess we don't want to lose you." Zoe, who had been silent, placed a hand on Noah's arm. "Honey, sit down." When he reluctantly obeyed, she looked at Ethan and Olivia. "I've suspected there was something between you two since I first met Olivia. The way you look at each other isn't how friends look at each other." Noah stared at his wife in disbelief. "You knew?" "I had a feeling," Zoe said gently, Honestly, I've always wondered why you were so protective of both of them. 6 months had passed since Noah's wedding. Seattle winter was giving way to spring, bringing gentle rain and the first hints of cherry blossoms to the city. Olivia stood by the large windows of her small art studio, watching droplets race down the glass while she waited for her students to arrive for the afternoon class. Her phone buzzed with a text message. A smile spread across her face when she saw Ethan's name. Just landed. "Can't wait to see ya. Traffic from airport looks bad. We'll be there in about an hour." Their relationship had survived the distance. Weekly video calls, daily messages, and monthly visits had kept their connection strong. What had begun as a night of long-suppressed feelings had grown into something deep and lasting. Each visit reinforced what they both already knew: what they had was worth fighting for. The conversation with Noah that day after the wedding had been difficult, but necessary. After his initial shock and anger, Noah had admitted something surprising. He had always been protective of both Ethan and Olivia, because on some level he had sensed their connection and feared losing them both if things went wrong between them. "You're the two most important people in my life," he had finally said. "I guess I wanted to keep you both in neat little boxes where nothing would change." It had taken several weeks of awkward conversations and one very long emotional phone call before Noah truly accepted their relationship. Zoe had been their unexpected champion, reminding Noah that love wasn't something that could be controlled or directed. The bell above the studio door jingled, pulling Olivia from her thoughts as her students began to arrive. She taught her class with barely contained excitement, checking the clock every few minutes. When the session ended, she quickly cleaned up, her heart racing with anticipation. The door opened just as she was putting away the last of the supplies. Ethan stood there, his hair slightly damp from the rain, a small duffel bag slung over his shoulder. For a moment, they simply looked at each other, drinking in the sight after weeks apart. Then Olivia was in his arms, the familiar scent of his cologne enveloping her as he lifted her off her feet in a tight embrace. "I have news," he said when he finally set her down. "Good news or bad news?" Olivia asked, searching his face. Ethan's smile widened. "I got the job. The architectural firm wants me to start next month." Olivia gasped. "You're moving to Seattle?" "I'm moving to Seattle," he confirmed. "No more long distance. No more counting the days until we see each other again." Tears of joy filled Olivia's eyes as the reality sank in. After months of uncertainty, they would finally be together in the same city. "There's more," Ethan said, reaching into his pocket. "Noah and Zoe are coming to visit next weekend. They want to help me apartment hunt." Olivia's eyes widened. "Noah's coming here? Voluntarily?" Ethan laughed. His exact words were, "If my best friend and my sister are going to be disgustingly in love, I might as well get a free trip to Seattle out of it." That evening, they walked along the waterfront, making plans for their future together. The path forward wasn't perfect or easy. There were still jobs to balance, spaces to merge, and family dynamics to navigate, but for the first time, they were facing these challenges together without hiding or pretending. "Do you ever regret it?" Ethan asked, as they watched the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. Pulling me aside at the wedding that night, Olivia shook her head. "Never. That moment took courage, but it was worth it. Sometimes the scariest decisions lead to the most beautiful outcomes." Ethan squeezed her hand. "I spent years thinking loving you was complicated because of Noah, because of timing, because of 1,000 excuses. But loving you is the simplest, most natural thing I've ever done." As they turned toward her home that would soon be their home, Olivia reflected on their journey. What had begun as a desperate confession on a wedding night had transformed into a love story written not in grand gestures but in honest conversations, difficult choices, and the quiet certainty that they had found in each other what most people search for all their lives. A soul that recognized their own,